I'm Linda Deer. Welcome to Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, a weekly gift of guidance from my spirit guides on navigating you through the uncertain world that you are now living in. Published every Tuesday since 2014. In today's episode, the guides will talk about you are the hardest person to get to know. So, Ray, what do you have for me?
Well, if you're the hardest person to get to know, how did that happen? Do some people just go through their entire life hiding?
Some people do. Some people hide in certain areas and are real extrovert in others. Okay, it just depends on what's important to you. All right? And where you're not willing to risk exposing who you really are, like wearing your heart on your sleeve. You know how you hear that saying? You're not willing to do it. Something happened in your life that's put up a big caution sign that said, no, do not enter. Don't talk about that. Don't let yourself be exposed to that. Don't let your heart come out. Okay, I'll use an example from my own life. I wrote about it in Guided. I've had many examples actually, where as a kid, I was the most covert to myself kid you could ever imagine. I figured things out because I always did journal writing. I spoke to myself. I realized I wasn't speaking just to me. I was having this conversation with them. My spirit guide angels, the light beings who followed me here into this life. I actually had someone to talk to. And by the way, so do you. Everybody does. So this is how I learned to do it. I couldn't risk being who I was in the family I grew up in the school and around all the kids and the teachers. I just would not risk my true self and play that out in this world. I learned to do this so well and have this conversation with my guides from journal writing from the time I was 7 that I really got to know who I was. I really understood who they were in the outer world. I understood how to interface with that and not put myself at risk and risk myself in a way that was too much, that would have opened a door for them to just attack me on all fronts. Okay? Because these people weren't nice, especially my family. So from all that, I learned how to, one, take care of myself, have this conversation with myself, this way of understanding what was really going on without anger and fear and dread consuming me. I had already felt that for the first 7 years of my life. So I wasn't going to have any more of it. And having this constant communication with my spirit guides and angels. By the way, that's a photograph I took of them in 1994 when I had my Nikon camera at Christmas time. And of course, no one in the room saw it except for me. When I got the film developed, Film Days, there it was. And of course, it's like a yellow brick road, you guys. As soon as you start communicating what feels like to yourself from yourself, becomes this conversation that you're having with those who followed you here, your spirit guides and angels and light beings and others that are here to help you. Okay? So you are never alone. But the timing in the way that you do this is what's important as you begin to come out. Because after all, you are the hardest person to get to know in some area of your life. Example, I'll go back to Guided, my story. I was the hardest person to get to know in my professional life. I was a stellar success in everything I did. I have been an entrepreneur since the age of 19, since I started out in the outer world. I just didn't know any other way to do it. I have this communication style where I knew how to find out what I needed to know when I needed to know it. I had this developed intuition where when the intuition came through, it no longer surprised me, and I connected with it even when they told me things that I didn't want to know. I didn't want to believe, but I knew. They never lied to me. They always told me the truth and at the right time. So as I was learning about how to make a living, way past making a living, I was a success in everything I've ever done. It's timing, you guys. You work with this process. You write it down. You improve on your intuition automatically when you start. You will see guidance infiltrate your writing. Okay. So I learned to do this, and it is why this relationship I have with my guides and this process is how I became successful without anybody in this world supporting me. They worked against me in this world. So you're the hardest person to get to know. I was 62 years old when I published Guided. They told me, my guides told me in 1994, when I was 44 years old, 42 years old, to write Guided. And I wrote Guided and published it 20 years later. It's not that I wasn't going to do it. It's that I wasn't ready to do it. The rest of the story wasn't there yet, where I felt I could sit down and just perform on it. Okay? But when people read, the people who thought they knew me professionally. I was cordial and nice and normal and outgoing and all that. I mean, you would think that that was somebody that they actually could claim that they knew. But I was really the hardest person to get to know. When they read Guided, I've got reviews on Amazon about people saying, wow, I've known you. I thought I knew you for years and years and years until I read your book. Linda, I didn't know you at all. And I looked at them and said, that's right. You didn't. See, people don't really look in to who they are, let alone anyone else. We got to get better at this, you guys. So out of survival, I learned to be the hardest person to get to know. And my ultimate strategy was to let them think they knew me. I thought I knew me until I wrote this book. I really did. I thought I had a handle on my life. I was very clear in my life, throughout my life, because of this guidance, because of this journal writing. But you know what? After I wrote the story, from absolute clarity and honesty and transparency, when I wrote Guided, I'm still going, wow. That part of me, the personal part of me, is still healing. You're the hardest person to get to know. That's the part of you that you need to heal. I know because I've done it. Okay, you guys. So if my work has helped you in any way, share it with your like-minded friends. And my spirit guides and I love your comments. So keep them coming. The guides are going to close this session like we always do, Ray and I, with their closing message about you are the hardest person to get to know. And here they go.
Your aversion to to being hurt is what keeps you from really feeling and experiencing new things. As you get older, you're like antique furniture or a classic car that needs to be restored to its original brilliance. This world is what taught you the fear. And this is what you must unlearn before you can relearn.
Right. It's about unlearning what you learned that's not serving you. You have help. You are never alone and always being guided.